Hi kids! This next drawing tutorial is on cakes and it is in honor of Naomi. Happy birthday, Naomi. I know that virtual cake is not as delicious as real cake, and for that I am sorry, but this is for you. Happy birthday.
Hi kids! Okay, so today we're going to go over how to do some layer cakes, some different icing designs. I'll show you how to make it look like a slice has been removed and some cake stands. I'm going to switch papers. I'll do some basic cakes first and then I'll show you how to do this. Okay, sit tight. Okay, so first of all, for some of this I'm going to be using a pencil. That is because it's easier to get the shapes correct in pencil and then erase what I don't like, especially for the ovals. But for the first cake I'm going to use Sharpie because it's basic shapes viewed from the side. So first I'm going to make two rectangles. The one on top is a little bit smaller. They're the same height, but a little bit smaller, thinner, this way. And then this bottom part is going to be even wider still. This is the top of the cake stand. This can be a smaller, thinner rectangle, and then these two lines slope in for the base part of the cake stand. Now, if you want the cake stand to be elevated, you could give it a basic stand here in the center and then angle that out, and voila. An easy way to handle some icing is the drip. The drip method basically just looks like the icing is kind of pooling up over the side of the cake. This would also mean that some of the cake is exposed, so you would give it a visible center of icing between the layers. Kids, you know me, this would be chocolate. Now, for a candle, you're going to do a skinny kind of rectangle, but I like to put it an angle on the top so it looks like it's melting, the wick, and then a little teardrop shape for the flame. There are a lot of beautiful ways to develop a cake stand. You can do scallops, you can do hanging parts, this could be a wave, right? And I'm also going to show you a way of having a more elaborate base. For the next one, I'm going to switch over to the pencil and I'll show you how to lay out the layers for the cake. So when you start to see a cake from the top, you see it as an oval. And then whatever angle this oval is, whatever arc this is going to be repeated here with two parallel lines. Now, the one underneath it is going to be a little bigger. If it's easier to draw the whole oval, that's fine. If you're in pencil, you can just erase it, because obviously you don't see what's through the cake. Two lines down, close it up. And I'm going to put this on a cake stand also, so I'll make one more layer wider. Okay. Now, for the slice to be removed, let me bring this down a little bit so it's really sitting on the stand. For the slice to be removed, I'm going to make a triangular shape up here at the top. Two lines down straight, parallel to the edges, to the bottom of this cake tier. And then this line is mirrored here. so that these two are parallel. And then again in here where you would see the icing slice. Okay? Now I'm going to go over this in Sharpie so that you can see it a little bit more clearly, and then I'm going to erase my pencil lines. So I'll do this part in Sharpie and then I'll do the rest with it paused, and I'll be right back. So this, you have this shape here, you have this shape here, it is totally okay if your cake lines are wobbly, by the way. Every single cake I have ever made in my life has been a wobbly mess. And then I'm going to follow all of these lines and erase. I'll be right back. Okay, so now to handle the base of this, we're going to do something like this but a little bit more complex. We're going to make a more elaborate line this way, and then we're going to mirror it this way. So if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. It can be a plate. If you want to do this, that's fine. But to make it a little bit more elaborate, we might make an indentation there and then like a swirl out there. So in, out, over this way, back out this way, but then for this direction, it has to go the opposite way. So here, in, make that a little bit more in, out, and back. And then whoop, I really wanted that out there. And that out there. Remember kids, I'm drawing in Sharpie, and you get what you get. Let's make a line here, here, and one there. Now, to develop the cake stand a little bit, what you might do is make this kind of, how can I explain this? Kind of like a pearl strand where it's just like loops of circles connected, but they dip down and then back up again. And then at the bottom of each one, you could put a little diamond or something so it looks like it's got a decorative edge. I'll finish this and I'll be right back. Now, another simple way to handle some icing is with something that would sort of be like these circles, except it's like a loop. So you just can kind of loop your way around the top. And then also the bottom. Of the edges of the cake. And of course you can do a lot of decorative things on the side and on top. I'm going to show you a lot of different ways you can handle icing. I'll be right back after I loop these. Okay, now you have a slice removed. You want to show the slice. There are two different ways to do this. First you can show it like it's standing up, and the other way is you can show it like it's flipped on its side. So the first way, you will make the triangular shape that you removed. One side is longer than the other, and it has a curve at the back. And then, of course, it's got the missing icing. And then these two sides are parallel, the bottom. And then you're essentially going to draw the cake parts that are visible. So you'll have a rectangular shape here. Leave a little space for the icing. and then a rectangular shape here. And you can put it on a plate. You can add a little bit of that, you know, sometimes they put it on like a little chocolate drizzle. You could add a little fruit on top. You could add a little puff of whipped cream. And the other way to show it is on its side. You will have this triangle down this time. These two are parallel. This comes down here. This is the top this time. And then you're drawing the cake. So here, and this one goes to the bottom, and then on a plate. Okay, sit tight and I'll go over how to do the several tiered cake with the different icing styles. Alright kids, so for my 3-tiered cake, I am going to make the ovals for each one a little bit bigger each time. I'm making 3 tiers. You can really do as many as you want, and the nice thing about that is the more tiers you have, the more different kinds of decorations you can use. And then I'm going to put it on a cake stand. Alright, so I am going to play around with these and get them Sharpied, and I'll be back when they are Sharpied and erased. Okay, so now, I'm going to try and focus it, and that's what we get. So now, I want to point out that if you make mistakes in Sharpie, with the cake it's extremely forgiving, because you're going to go over all of this with icing, especially at the edges anyway. And I want to show you how I'll handle the flowers on top. So with the flower on top, actually let me do a large one of this real quick so you can kind of see what I'm doing. With the flower on top, what I'm going to be doing is making a kind of irregular center. Any shape is fine. And then I'm going to start building out. My petals are going to go from one edge of one to another edge of the other, so that they appear to be kind of working their way out from the center and getting a little bit larger, a little larger each time. So it's going to end up being something like this, and then I'll just do a real easy leaf. Okay, so here we go on the top. Working my way out. And I'm going to put a couple across here. So let's say I have one towards the center. I might put one over here. And I might put one here. And then I have the leaf detail that I can kind of add and tuck in to any areas that I think need a little more. Another way to handle icing is this pearl loop. And if we go back to the concept of the scallop, I'll show you a couple different ways of handling this. By the way, this cake's going to look crazy by the time I'm done with it just because I'm putting all of these different icing designs on one cake. You certainly don't have to do that. So for the scalloped top, I'm going to put 3 consecutive drips, like that, that, and that, 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 and that. And then, if you want, you can add these dots. I'm sorry, I really still feel like this thing isn't focused, but I hope you can see what I'm doing. These dots, you can either do them here from the bottom or here from in between. I'm going to put them in between. I'm going to do 4. It doesn't matter how many you do, I would just say pick a number and stick with it. And now, if you wanted to do something through the center, you would just have like maybe a band like this. And if you're going to do flowers, I would say, you know, keep it relatively simple. Until until you have a flower that you really like. And then you can just repeat it. And then there's always this looping swirl that's very useful. I'll put the loop across the top here. And then I'll handle this scallop a little bit differently. I'm going to put a flower here, here, and here. Maybe one kind of peeking out here, maybe one kind of peeking out there. And then I'm going to do the scallops between them. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you can always substitute or add dots. If you're going to do something like a flourish, I would keep it relatively simple also until you have something that you like. You can go as crazy as you want, but if you do it in Sharpie and you haven't figured it out yet, you might, you might regret it. And then for this roping look, the rope is really just a drop down, and then you go back to above this part and touch the first line and drop down again, go back above, drop down, go back above, drop down, turn the paper a little bit. I know that it's difficult when I turn the paper, but so I'm going up above it, dipping down, up above where it touched, dip down, up above where it touched, dip down, and then as I approach the end, because it's getting to be smaller, I'm going to start to make them a little smaller until it wraps around the side. If you want something a little bit more geometric, you could do a diagonal. So the way I'm going to handle this is I'm putting 2 diagonal parallel lines in one direction. My Sharpies are they're all dying. Every one of them. all day. And then once I know where they're going to end up, right, then I can go back and fill in the edges where they're missing. And then I'm not ignoring this edge. I'm just starting with this because it's easy to see, right? This is going to go from here to here. It's crossing through the center there, here to here. And now I know one would come from there. This would be here. And I know one would be there. And now where they intersect, I can do, you know, a circle, a star, a flower. I think I'll just do a circle. And then if I want to make it even a little more elaborate, I can put additional circles in between. Now, I'm going to do something else with the base, but before I do, I want to show you how to add like a little doily. So if you want this sitting on a kind of decorative doily type paper or piece of lace, you would make a scalloped edge like that, and then you just want to give it a repeating pattern inside every one of these scallops, and it doesn't matter what that pattern is as long as it repeats. So 3 dots is totally fine. If you want to add like a teardrop kind of thing, you can do that too. Don't force it, just put it where it would be visible. If this wouldn't be visible because your cake is out further, then don't do it. Alright, now for the bottom, for this stand, I'm going to give it 3 legs. You wouldn't really see the back one too much. You would see these 2 side ones. But before I do, I'm going to give it the edge here. So I'm just doing a wavy line for this one. I'm going to keep it relatively simple. And I'm going to double it. And then you're going to see a little bit of this leg here. And then this part curl out. A little bit of this leg here. And then notice I'm moving back in a little bit and coming out for the curl. And not much of that leg at all. And then, once again, happy birthday. This tutorial is for Naomi, but if you have a birthday and you spent it during quarantine, happy birthday to you too, youngsters. Alright kiddos, hope this has been fun for you, and I'll see you soon.